Picture this. A researcher walks into a room to interview a man worth over $6 million. He's expecting a mansion, a Rolex, maybe a driver waiting outside. Instead, he finds a guy in a flannel shirt, driving a pickup truck that's older than his kids, who just spent 20 minutes negotiating the price of a lawnmower at a garage sale. That man is not the exception. According to two researchers who spent over 20 years studying America's wealthy, he's the rule. Here's the twist that's going to mess with everything you think you know about rich people. The folks with the fancy cars, the designer clothes, the country club memberships, most of them aren't actually wealthy. Many of them are one paycheck away from a very different lifestyle. And the quiet people you never look twice at, the ones clipping coupons and driving Toyotas, those are frequently the real millionaires. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why that is. And more importantly, you're going to know the specific habits that separate people who build wealth from people who just look wealthy. Stick around because the final lesson is the one the authors say matters more than any other. It's the difference between a life of financial freedom and a life of financial anxiety, no matter how much you earn. This is the Millionaire Next Door. Let's set the scene. Two researchers, Thomas Stanley and William Danko, spent decades interviewing and surveying people with high net worth across the United States. And what they found broke almost every assumption people had about what a millionaire looks like. Today, we're going to walk through the major lessons from their research. And I promise you the last one is the one that ties the whole thing together. Let's get into it.
Lesson 1. Wealth is not the same thing as income. Here's a story that captures this perfectly. The researchers once organized a meeting with a group of people they believed, based on their income and lifestyle, must be wealthy. Doctors, executives, people pulling in serious six-figure salaries. But when they actually looked at the numbers, what these people owned versus what they owed, most of them had shockingly little net worth. Big houses with big mortgages, leased luxury cars, private school tuition, country club dues. They looked rich. On paper, they were treading water. Then the researchers interviewed a different group, small business owners, contractors, people in what most of us would consider unglamorous jobs, and found the opposite. Modest houses, older cars, no country club memberships, and millions of dollars sitting quietly in investments. The core insight here is simple, but it rewires how you see money. Income is what flows into your life. Wealth is what you keep and grow.
Lesson 2. Frugality is the engine, not a sacrifice. There's a moment in the research where the authors describe visiting the home of a self-made multimillionaire, expecting some kind of luxury estate. Instead, they find a modest house he's lived in for decades, furniture that's older than his adult children, and a wife who still clips coupons. Not because she has to, but because it's simply how the household operates. This is where the book introduces one of its most repeated findings. The wealthy, as a group, are disciplined budgeters and disciplined spenders. Most of the millionaires studied knew exactly how much their family spent every year on food, clothing, and shelter. That might sound
Lesson 3. Economic outpatient care can quietly drain a family's wealth. The authors coin a term for something that surprised even them. They call it economic outpatient care. It's the ongoing financial gifts that wealthy parents give their adult children. Down payments on houses, monthly allowances, paying off credit cards. It sounds generous, and it comes from love. But the data told a different story. They describe families where parents built substantial wealth through decades of discipline, only to subsidize their adult children's lifestyle to the point where those children never developed the same habits. The children who received regular financial gifts often had lower net worth and weaker earning discipline than children from similarly wealthy families who received little to no ongoing support. The safety net?
Lesson 4.
Wealthy Parents Raise Economically Self-Sufficient Kids. The book found that the families who successfully built and kept wealth across generations shared a specific parenting approach. They didn't hide the topic of money from their children like some taboo subject, but they also didn't flaunt it. Kids in these households often had no idea their parents were millionaires until much later in life because the day-to-day lifestyle didn't broadcast it. Instead, these parents taught their children the value of a dollar through consistent behavior, working part-time jobs, understanding the cost of things, and being expected to eventually stand on their own financially. Contrast that with households where wealth was highly visible, and children were essentially told through lifestyle and habits that money is unlimited and lifestyle upgrades are the norm. Those households on average struggled more to pass wealth to the next generation intact. If you're stopping to check in, this is a good moment for a small favor. If any of this is landing for you, drop a like on this video. It genuinely helps me keep making deep dive summaries like this one. Now, all of these lessons, frugality, discipline, teaching self-sufficiency, they all point toward one final unifying idea. And the authors are pretty direct that this is the master skill underneath everything else in the book.
Here's where the book brings it all together. The researchers found that most self-made millionaires weren't doctors or lawyers or Wall Street traders. They were business owners. People who ran dry cleaning companies, paving contractors, small manufacturers, welding shops. Unsexy, unglamorous businesses that most people wouldn't brag about at a dinner party. But these business owners controlled their own income, kept their overhead low, and reinvested aggressively in their businesses instead of their lifestyle. Compare that to high-income professionals who, despite impressive salaries, often live in expensive zip codes specifically because their profession demands it and end up locked into high-cost, high-status environments that eat their income alive. A doctor earning a great salary but living in a neighborhood where the normal lifestyle involves private school, luxury cars, and constant social comparison is fighting an uphill battle every single day, regardless of how much they make. The author's advice is almost counterintuitive. Choose an occupation you're good at and that has real earning potential. And then just as importantly, choose to live in an environment where your income puts you ahead of your neighbors, rather than constantly trying to keep up with them. Wealth isn't just built through income and discipline. It's built by removing yourself from environments.
We started with a picture of a millionaire who looked nothing like what we expected. A guy in a flannel shirt, driving an old pickup truck, negotiating over a lawnmower. Now you know exactly why that image is so common among America's real wealthy. It comes down to 5 things. Understanding that wealth is what you keep, not what you earn. Living below your means, as a discipline, not a punishment. Being cautious about how financial gifts can quietly undercut a family's independence. Raising the next generation to be self-sufficient rather than subsidized. And finally, choosing a vocation and a lifestyle that lets you swim with the current instead of against it. If there's one takeaway to remember above all the others, it's this. Wealth isn't about how much you make. It's about the gap between what you earn and what you keep, sustained consistently over decades. That gap is completely within your control, regardless of your salary. If this video helped you see money differently, hit like. It really does help this channel grow. And I'd love to know, out of these 5 lessons, which one do you think you personally need to work on the most? Let me know in the comments below.